This may be the most balanced and capable build I've made to date. It has great single target without sacrificing clear, great damage without sacrificing defense, super simple to play, and it's built off the base of a meme build. We use the same Eye of Innocence tech from this league's Path of Walking Sim build for near infinite recovery and self-damage to drive 3 cast when damage taken setups. These setups are designed to grind through corpses as quickly as possible to maximize the cast speed bonus from the Necromancer's Corpse Pact node, granting 200 increased cast speed. This allows the build to get Arcanist Brand up to almost 5 activations per second. Arcanist Brand gets paired with Eye of Winter and returning projectiles, either through the new support gem or the Nimbus Ring to tear through anything in our way. Is this just a worse version of the Hierophant Eye of Winter Brander? Probably, but it's a lot crazier and much more fun. On defense, the build can easily achieve 75-50 block with glancing blows, and over 90% spell suppression with the Lucky Suppression Mastery. Combine this with Grace and Evasion gear and the build feels much tankier than it has a right to. You can find a POV in the video description for the character you see on screen, but for now, let me give you a tour of the build. Okay, so let's start with the gear. As stated before, we are using the same tech from the most recent Path of Walking Simulator build, the Eye of Innocence Amulet that drives self-damage, the Replica Dowager's Damning that brings our curse limit down to 0. We pair that with the Curse Mastery that gives us life and mana recovery upon cursing a non-cursed enemy. With a curse limit of 0, we can apply curses, get credit for the mastery, but never actually have the curse stick to the enemy. So this gives us 1% of life and mana back on every single hit. This is how we have crazy life recovery and make sure that we're actually getting all of the mana back as well. Then we are using a pair of gloves that has 2 curse on hit implicits on it because that 1% will apply per every curse we try to apply. So having 2 curses will double that recovery to 2%. The only other unique item we have on here is I do have a Nimbus Ring. This is a quite expensive piece comparatively to a lot of the builds that I put together. It is not necessary for this build. You can just run a regular ring here with crit and life and whatever damage mods you want to get on it. You will just have to use a returning projectile support gem in your setup. Now, the returning projectile support gem, that does carry a less damage multiplier for the projectiles that return. You also have the opportunity cost of not being able to use another support gem in there. So not having the Nimbus only gets like 1/3 of the damage if you did have the Nimbus. So it is absolutely not required. I was running T16s for a long time before I got this ring, but it is something to strive for. I think I paid 11 divines for this one, and it is just it's a game changer, and it is something for you to look forward to and save up for, and it feels great once you do get it. The other gear, we're just going for evasion bases with spell suppression. The helm, we really want to make sure you can craft the projectile pierce mod on the helm. You do want at least one source of pierce somewhere for the build clear to feel good. On the chest, just looking for life resistances, whatever you need on there. The boots, you want to make sure we have brittle ground on the boots. This is a great way to scale critical damage. On the wand, you do want to go for a wand because you do want projectile speed. I am rocking 125% right now. That is 80% with a 2023 faster projectile support. You don't have to get a corrupted one, but yeah, a faster projectile support here, and at least something that is 35% or higher on the wand. You'll need at least that for the build to feel good, but every little bit more you can get does help the build to feel better. Of course, any other cold damage mods you can get on here. Target opal wands if you can, because they have the cold damage implicit, which is great. And then on the shield, again, life, defensive stuff, again, at evasion rating base, and that is just stacking as much evasion as we can. The build in combat is basically immune to anything except for one-shots. So by stacking a bunch of evasion, we can avoid the one-shots as much as possible, but we also are going to be stacking block and spell suppression too, and that helps the build feel, again, way tankier than it should. For the gems, our main setup is Eye of Winter with Arcanist Brand, and you faster projectiles you'll need, Cold Pen, which is important because we're not able to curse enemies, so we really want a way to push through enemy resistances, added cold damage support. When you're hitting so many times, flat damage just becomes great for the build, and I'm running increased critical damage support. This is one that if you don't have your crit up to speed yet, you can swap something else out for this. I think that if you don't have the returning or the projectile pierce support here, or if you don't have the Nimbus, you can put your returning projectile support here or a pierce support gem here. So that's one of the kind of options that you've got. Now we've got 2 level 1 cast when damage taken setups. The one that I have down here is Volatile Dead and Desecrate linked with Spell Cascade. This setup, every time it goes off, will generate 10 corpses and consume 9 of them. The other one over here, we have Cremation, Unearth, and Power Charge on crit. So Cremation will consume the corpse spawned by Unearth. So this is kind of a closed loop here. The one leftover corpse down here will be used to trigger Bone Offering, just to make sure we've got something left out there for that, because Bone Offering does require a corpse to work. Now you see this we have leveled all the way up to 19. The other ones we are keeping down at level 1. But this one we can have the cast when damage taken and run it all the way up to level 18, because this setup does not have to go off all of the time. Bone Offering has a long duration. We're not pushing this to level 20 because all you get from level 19 to level 20 is 1% more chance to block attack damage, but we're already at block cap, so we don't need that extra little bit. We also have Vol Cold Snap. It will trigger the regular Cold Snap version of this. It has a 3-second cooldown, so it doesn't have to go off all the time. It can't go off all the time. The Vol version of the skill we use on bosses and single targets to help generate frenzy charges. And then we have Frost Bomb, which is just applying cold exposure, and the life regeneration reduction is also great as well. Over in the shield, we've got Vortex and Bone Chill, just to increase cold damage taken, and we just have Vortex on left click, so it just automatically gets cast as we walk around. We have a Flame Dash to move around, and then with our auras, we have Hatred for more cold damage, we have Grace for more evasion, and I'm currently running Defiance Banner to reduce crit strike chance for enemies and also getting more evasion rating. I'm toying with trying to figure out how to replace this with Tempest Shield. Tempest Shield will then max out our spell block as well and give shock immunity, but it is stretching the mana pretty thin when we do that, even with Eldritch Battery on. We spend a lot of mana. The Eldritch Battery does not recover as quickly as the mana does. I'm sorry, the Energy Shield doesn't recover as quickly as the mana does, so I'm still trying to see if we can figure that out or fit that in the build. I think that's pretty much everything with the gems and the gear. Some quick notes on the passive tree. We already talked about, we want to get the Lucky Spell Suppression node here. We definitely need this Curse Mastery for everything to work. But something that you might not think of is that we do need to get some chance to ignite. We have 10% chance to ignite here. We have another 15 here. We can anoint Ash, Frost, and Storm for another 10% here. And then there is a fire node here that provides 20% chance to ignite. But if we go all the way through to the mastery, there's a mastery that has critical strikes do not inherently ignite, but 100% increased damage with hits against ignited enemies. So between all of the things here, we also get a little bit of chance to ignite on the Eye of Innocence amulet as well. That ends up being enough. We are not igniting on every hit, but we are igniting more enough for everything to work. So that is really all we need to make it work. If you don't have fire damage anywhere, just grab yourself a tattoo that has 3 to 5 fire damage, slap it somewhere on the tree, and you're good to go. Definitely want to take Rune Binder so we can double the number of brands we can have attached to mobs. So said before, we're taking Glancing Blows, and we're getting Eldritch Battery over here. This is because there are some rare situations where if you don't have this, you can run out of mana and find yourself just stuck. And this makes sure that doesn't happen. We are getting some Reservation where we can, and of course Life where we can, but also taking Spiritual Aid. Spiritual Aid, because on our tree here, we have many little nodes that have minions deal increased damage, and that helps us make use of those and actually get a pretty good chunk of damage. We also want the increased effect of Offerings Mastery. That also helps as well. So I don't really have many leveling notes. This is a very weird build to level with. We just have to figure out what works for you. I did take Commander of Darkness first, having that 30% increased damage, but also the 30 elemental resistances to completely offset the first Katava penalty is great. Secondly, took Plaguebringer and then went with Corpse Pact after that. There's really no reason to go for a Corpse Pact sooner than that, because we can't use the amulet until level 68 anyway. Then took Mistress of Sacrifice last, and that is how everything works on here. This has been such a joy to play. It's one of my favorite builds that I've had in a long time. If you guys have any suggestions for a name for this build, drop it in the comments, because I'm not sure what I want to call this yet. Eye of Winter Necromancer is just a lot to say, so I want to find something a little bit better. Again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Again, POB file in the description. Check it out. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys, if you do make this build, you enjoy it. I certainly do. I felt like it was worth sharing. And that's all I have for you guys today. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I'll see you guys in Rayclast.